returning subscribers, it comes as no surprise that Super Mario Bros. 3 is in fact my favorite game of all time. I pretty much have made it one of the benchmarks for what I define as a masterpiece of a video game. A game that is so replayable, so timeless, that nothing in the genre has been able to top it since. Some have come pretty damn close to it, but none have ever been able to top the experience that is Super Mario Bros. 3 for me personally. As of this year, I beat it not once, but twice. On the same day, in fact. This was all to prepare for the race against my friend Frank, also known as Knuckles Channel 3 and Knuckles, formerly Game & Tank, formerly Super Frank Plays. Yeah, that's right Frank, I've been with you since day one. So you know what I decided to do? With Super Mario Bros. 3 so fresh in my mind, I decided why not make a video on it. I have no plans to redo the Super Mario Bros. 3 review because even though it's not my best work, in fact I have many problems with it personally, I still think it somewhat holds up enough just to be left as it is. I could probably edit it down to trim the fat, but some people like the video as it is, so if I ever want to do Super Mario Bros. 3 in the way I want to do it in the future, I'll just cover Super Mario Advance 4 sometime. So instead, how about I just rank each of the 8 worlds from best to worst? Now you might expect me to just judge these worlds based on the levels alone. That's how I usually do it, and that's how most of it will be judged. However, there is other criteria that it'll be judged by. Quantity of levels for one, as well as how easy the world is to traverse in instances I'm chasing down an airship, not to mention how good the checkpoint warp pipes are placed, and even how unique it is as a concept. For this list, I will solely be looking at the NES version of Super Mario Bros. 3, not that the updated Toad houses in Super Mario Advance 4's remake changed my impressions of the worlds anyways, and also, don't expect the #1 pick to be everyone else's. Some might even be surprised at how high and how low I rank some of these entries. So with that said, I am Alec Elger, the Side-Questian gentleman, and I am going to rank each world from Super Mario Bros. 3 from best to worst. Which is more like my least favorite, but even my least favorite world in the game is still pretty damn good. It's just not as good as the others, basically. Number 8. Pipe Maze. This has always been the world I looked forward to the least on repeat playthroughs. I mean, not only are there a lot of warp pipes that make traversing through this world a slog, but the levels themselves are more labyrinthian and kind of slow down the expected pacing of them. I'm not saying exploration as a means from getting point A to point B is necessarily bad, but it seems to punish the players for going in unprepared. Like for instance, this frickin' empty fortress level that makes you look for a block to hit that's very specific, so a switch pops out and you open a secret doorway, and then you can finally move on to the boom boom. And I'm sorry, but filling levels with invisible blocks is annoying, time-wasting trial and error. It does get alleviated in further playthroughs when you know what to enter each level with, but still, trial and error exploration isn't fun. It can be annoying. Oh, and don't you just love finishing a difficult level only for it to lead to a dead end? Oh, me for not being able to tell the future. I will say, I do like Ludwig's airship, and for what it's worth, replacing the Hammer Bros with these giant plant mini-stages are frantic as hell, with some very specific timing-based platforming, but it's really fun. And most of these levels are solid enough challenges. I really like the later stages, especially the ones that go back to a more straightforward platforming challenge I'm used to. Hell, there's even one desert level that does have exploration, but it's done in a way that maintains a comfortable pace that's expected in the rest of Super Mario Bros. 3. But because this world takes 5 stages in a castle to get going, that is definitely why it is my least favorite world in the game. Number 7. Oh man, please don't kill me, but I'm gonna have to say Desert Hill. Why is this so low, you may ask? Well, because despite being the best desert world in the series, okay, the Super Mario Galaxy desert levels are much better, but in terms of the 2D games, this one knocks them all out of the park thanks to their sense of speed and level variety, but the levels are a bit too open for my liking. I mean, it's fun dodging those fake blocks and using puzzle solving to exit this Koopa guarded pipe, as well as traversing this Buzzy Beetle infested pyramid. It is quite fun. And be honest, who doesn't love the dry bones boss-infested castle stage with the boos being introduced to the franchise. This is a unique enemy concept. No wonder the series still overuses them. However, a lot of these levels are similar. Just an open space with enemies placed throughout to the point where the gimmick sun chase level is just that, except with less enemies and an angry sun. I mean, it's frantic, it's fun, but it's not as fun as some of the other levels. In fact, it's probably not as fun as most of the other levels in Super Mario Bros. 3. And because Super Mario Bros. 3's levels are notoriously short, they don't really leave as strong of an impression, with the exception of the chase level as well as the castle and pyramid levels solely for their concepts alone. And for what it's worth, the Chain Chomp level was a nice change of pace too. It's just that being one of the earlier worlds means it'll have less levels than later stages, and if this world doesn't have much in terms of variety, it's definitely why it ranks lower than the others. Like Pipe Maze, I like Desert Hill enough, but I just don't love it as much as I do most of the other worlds in Super Mario Bros. 3. It also doesn't help that there's this stupidly placed secret boulder hiding the fire bro with a warp whistle, and the game doesn't hint at it until much later, and even then the directions couldn't be more vague. The thief who stole the whistle escaped to the east of the sand dunes. Oh, so let's try it out. Maybe it's in a secret passage. It wasn't in a secret passage. Okay, how do I get it? Maybe I'll try the pyramid. Maybe there's a secret passage there where the whistle's at. That's east of the sand dunes, right? It wasn't in a secret passage in the pyramid level. So where is it? Where is it east of the sand dunes? Where? Just where? Am I going to have to look it up on the internet? Looks like I have no choice. Alright, let's look it up. Let's see. Here. Alright, looking it up. How do I get to the warp whistle in the sand dunes? Alright, let's check that out. What? Wait, really? What? No, that's gotta be trollish behavior. Someone's obviously trolling me, you know, no game designer, especially from Nintendo, would do that, would they? Let's try it out then. It's worth a shot. I don't have any other solutions. You've got to be freaking kidding me. Really? How was I supposed to know that? Now the other rocks in that map break. Like, for some reason that one does? That makes no sense. It blends in with the background objects. I get that's supposed to be the point, but how was I supposed to know that? Number 6. Grassland. Like Desert Hill, it is more basic than later worlds, meaning less levels to add to its total sum, and all I can say about it is that it leaves a very strong first impression. Each level feels different than the last, and it's legitimately exciting to see what comes next. Like, the first level is flat and gives you basic enemies like the piranha plants and Goombas, as well as your first exposure to the raccoon power-up. This level pretty much tells the player that being a Mario 1 veteran isn't enough. Sure, you'll have familiar power-ups, but here, try this new one in the first level. Now you have something new to master. It's a fantastic first level to start out with, and I like how the second is now a topographic platforming section where you're taught about the game's sliding controls on inclines, and the auto-scroller is quite thrilling. The castle is basic, sure, but it is already a million times better than even the best castle in Mario 1. There's even an underground level with a fantastic remix of Mario 1's underground theme. It now has a drum track. Hell yeah! Now instead of just a basic chiptune, it has a bit of an industrial quality. The variety in Grassland is its saving grace, but these level concepts are revisited later on and all of them have been outdone in some way. Hence why, despite the sung praises of this world, it ranks below 5 other worlds on this list. Number 5. Bowser's Castle. Okay, it's not really a castle, it should be called Bowser World. Hell, I'll even settle for Darkland like it is in some versions of this game. I like how instead of numerical levels, this entire hellish world is filled with varied airship-like auto-scroller levels, like these 2 tank levels, this battleship, and even an actual fleet of mini airships, although that is the worst of them because of how fast it moves and how annoying those flying wrenches can be. And they even have either Boomerang Bros or Boom Booms as mini bosses at the end, really selling how powerful Bowser can be with his army. Seriously, why can't we get more 8th worlds like this in 2D Mario games? This is such a great change of pace. I even like how the vehicle auto-scroller levels are perma-finish, meaning if you get a game over, they won't respawn and you don't have to do all that time-consuming stuff all over again. Although if you do die on them, you have to do a lot of jumping and waiting to get back to the point you left off in, which, given how long these auto-scrollers can be, feels like an eternity at times. But the more you play this game, the less of an issue that becomes. I much prefer the 2 castle levels in this world where progression of the level is at my own pace and not the game's, especially the first castle. That is how you do a P-switch door puzzle as a means of progression. Take notes, Pipe Maze, you really need this one. I also like these mini challenges, with one having all the bros in one place, as well as a tricky platforming challenge, and even one filled with Cheep Cheeps to make things frantic, but they reward you with the raccoon leaves that comes in handy for the airships. That is great challenge level placement. It's also unique how they could randomly grab you, or they don't. You can go into them still on your own volition, but it's cool how they pulled off this kind of mini challenge level, giving the game a sense of finality. But what makes this world not higher on this list is the overabundance of auto-scrolling levels, which plays only at the game's pace, which is fine for the final airship levels in each world, but multiple versions of these, it can get old. And these numerical levels, like the desert and that infested level, oh man, they can go screw an electronic pencil sharpener, especially the first one. Because it is just irritation incarnate, especially the stupid jump with a puzzle block that may or may not validate my dash jump, therefore undershooting the jump and then I die and have to do the level all over again. At least 2 has the shortcut so I don't have to deal with the Venus fire trap as well as the angry sun. But other than that, it's a great final world that other games should emulate. I may also be a bit biased in how this world ends with a tricky boss battle that finishes off with Bowser falling at terminal velocity. That is how you end the NES trilogy of Mario games. You can just feel the impact of his fall. Number 4. I warned you that a lot of people's favorite world wouldn't be mine, so Big Island is only my 4th favorite world in the game. Oh come on, it's still great, and here's why. I promise, I'm not doing this to be a contrarian edgelord because even since the first playthrough, I've always felt this way. Big Island from a concept alone is freaking wild. It's like, what if the iconic Mario enemies and objects were giant size? And holy crap, it's like I'm in a prehistoric mushroom kingdom. And despite there only being 6 numerical levels, 2 castles, and an airship, the numerical levels have a nice variety of concepts to use the giant gimmick to its fullest. Like, there are the grassland block levels except big. There's the water levels except with big pipes and piranhas. I'm surprised there's not big fish around. I mean, there is in the first level, but still. And even the happy little clouds are big. But even without the giant gimmick, you still have a nice cave level that evolves the concept to have less downtime than Desert Hills Pyramid. You also have a standard castle level, a Lakitu Chase water level, and the 6th level allows you to return it to normal size if that's your preference. Even beyond the central giant gimmick, it's a very good world on design alone, but I do find the enemy placement in level 5 to be really annoying, and the frickin' sumo brothers that are prevalent throughout this world are annoying with their earthquake stomp that turns you into a sitting duck even if it's off screen. And here's the thing, they're not just on the map screen where you can just use a music box to make them fall asleep. No, 2 of them are in the beginning of the 4th level. But that's really about it in terms of complaints. It's a really fun world with a few design hiccups that makes it rank below 3 other worlds for me personally, which does hurt a little, believe me, because picking my favorite world is like picking my favorite child. I'm not a parent, so I really wouldn't know the pain of that, but I'd imagine it'd be pretty close to that. Especially because it features a blowtorch-heavy airship with my favorite psychotic Koopaling. Although, to be fair, the psychotic nature of him wasn't really defined until New Super Mario Bros. Wii, so maybe it's a lot easier to move on to the next 3 entries. Oh, really? Really? Wow, I just got a direct message from someone with a profile pic that looks like me except photoshopped long hair. It looks so fake. Anyways, they put out a hit on me. They're threatening my life, saying they're gonna come to my house and kill me for my opinion on Mario 3. I thought those windows were bulletproof. How the hell did they break through? Oh jeez, I gotta get out of here. Number 3. Iced Lands. One of the greatest mysteries of my life, other than whatever happened to the Nintendo NX, and what Kramer secretly does for a living to be able to live in a New York City apartment for over a decade, right next to a famous stand-up comedian. The third mystery is, why does Iceland rank so low on these types of lists? I know ice physics are generally a pet peeve among gamers, because games like Crash 2 remove a sense of control over the character, but these ice levels are very solid. See what I did there? 3 Phases of Matter joke. The ice actually helps increase the momentum of Mario, which makes speedrunning these stages a joy for the most part. And while there is a lot of levels with a wide variety of harder enemies, this is how you increase the difficulty curve naturally. It offers something different just when you think the game pretty much gave you everything. And not all the levels are ice-based. I mean, there's still standard fortress levels, despite one of them being ice-based. There's a pretty tricky but fun airship with no ice physics whatsoever, and there's even a few underwater stages that break up the monotony. And even though level 4 is despised for having a weird solution for finishing the level, so much so they actually changed the route to the Toad House in Super Mario Advance 4's remake so that you don't have to beat level 4 just to reach it. But the warp pipes are very close to the entrance, so that getting a Tanuki tail to fly up to the exit puzzle is challenging but fair. Plus, there's plenty of gaps in the ceiling that tell you, maybe I should investigate those. I do find this one fortress level with the stretched platforms to be annoying to speedrun, but even then, it's a very solidly designed level. This world, I will say, is freaking great without any apologies whatsoever. Because this is how you do ice physics where it's slippery, but you still have enough control over the character where it enhances the platforming instead of detracts from it. Take notes, Crash 2. I love you, but I hate Cold Hard Crash for a very good reason. I should also mention how much I like the placement of the rocks so that if you conserve hammers from previous worlds, you can break these rocks and unlock shortcuts outright skipping some of the middle levels, giving this world even more merit from a design standpoint. However, there are 2 more worlds I like more than Iceland, as great as it is. Number 2. This may be a surprise to some, but Oceanside. I am gonna be honest and say that I did not really care for this world at first, but each playthrough it really started to grow on me. I always liked Mario's water levels because it changed up the pace of the standard platforming, and they always placed the right amount of enemies and item blocks to make them more than just swimming. And these underwater levels are no exception. I love how on the overworld map you can still tell which levels are underwater and which ones aren't just by the placement of them. And with the Hammer Bros returning, it allows for their encounters to require an increase in difficulty. So if they land on an underwater portion, guess what? Now you have to fight them while swimming. This is hard, but it's awesome. But while 2 of the levels are underwater, some of them are above water with jumping Cheep Cheeps, and 2 of them even have a giant vor fetish instant kill fish pursuing you. Oh god, this is a thing of nightmares. Oh no! And each map turn opens and closes these green bridges, sometimes allowing you to skip a few levels if you time it just right. And if you really aren't big on water levels that much, this world has that spike infested level as well as a Lakitu chase grass level. This world has a large quantity of levels and none of them I would ever find to be poorly designed. Even the airship changes the standard Koopaling fight, having Wendy shooting bouncing rings that don't disappear, making this fight really tricky. I even like exploring the map. Yeah! This map has a natural means of exploration. For example, breaking this rock and being able to sail out to an isolated island with mushroom houses and picture houses. This is a great way to rack up some 1-ups if you're having trouble with this world. So really, what is there to complain about? It theoretically should be number 1 for having all hits and no misses with a large quantity of levels, but to be fair, pursuing the airship can be annoying thanks in part to the warp pipe isolating its starter island level from the rest of it. That is the only imperfection I can think of to a near perfect world, plus the next entry takes 3's concept and improves upon it in many ways. So, you may be wondering, what is, in my opinion, to be the best world in Super Mario Bros. 3? Now, I warn you, it is a very blasphemous #1 choice. So many bugs around here. Well, before that, I suppose I should give an honorable mention. Honorable mention, World 9, the Warp Whistle World. Ugh, that's a tongue twister. You couldn't save your game back in the NES days, so picking up where you left off via these really weirdly placed warp whistles is a nice feature, even if it feels like cheating. Anyways, jokes aside, #1. The best Super Mario Bros. 3 world in my personal opinion, but that should be obvious from the start of this list, the Sky. I always held deep admiration for this world because while it does recycle some grassland themes in the first half, they feel different enough design-wise to not matter at all thanks to these new enemy plants that make the game harder. The chain chomps are also back in full force, and there's this neat gimmick level where you can use Goomba's chute to traverse on top of these mini piranha plants. I kind of wish this concept got revisited in later worlds with even more clever designs around this, but it's just a gimmick. And the Hammer Brothers patrolling the map are back, but they're not much different than their grassland encounters, which is fine, I guess. But wait, what's that weird building at the end? And after finishing this weird castle-like stage without a boss at the end, it instead has a warp pipe, and holy crap, there's an entire second half of the world that's in the clouds, and it has the last 2/3 of this world, including the fun sky level where you hop on these flying red shells that elevate, and a few tricky spinning platform levels that are still fun regardless. There's even one moving platform challenge with a freaking dastardly flame chump that'll ruin your run if you're not careful. Even the castle is so cool. It has an upside down lava pit in addition to the standard one, making you really think hard about how you're gonna go about it. And if that wasn't enough of a game changer, the airship features Roy, whose heavy weight allows for him to shake and paralyze Mario temporarily, but unlike the Sumo Bros who I complained about in the 4th world section, the problem with the Sumo Brothers is that you have to jump to not get paralyzed by their ground stomp, but jumping will likely make you careen into their thrown hammers, costing you a life or a hit point. But thankfully with Roy and Ludwig later on, unless they shoot with their wand, the shot is in a straight path and not in an arc, which makes it less of a problem than the Sumo Brothers projectiles. I also like how they implemented shortcut bridges and warp pipes after beating their castle stages, so that even though there's not as many exploratory elements like in World 3, or even rocks to break to unlock shortcuts like in Worlds 2 and 6, this is by far the best experience I've had with any of the worlds in this game. It has the most levels, it has a great level variety despite having consistent cloud and grassland themes, and they somehow made auto-scrolling levels fun. And if that wasn't enough, there's also little touches that further my enjoyment. I like how you can see the first half of the world miniaturized from the second half, and the use of the Coin Heaven theme for the second half of the world was definitely great for my ears. I thank you, Koji Kondo. This is a great composition. So, looks like we're at the end of the rankings video. You know what that means? You're probably expecting me to be all like in stereotypical top 10 list maker fashion. So these are my entries from best to worst. What are your picks from best to worst? Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Yeah, I don't reiterate the thesis of the video just for a cheap conclusionary statement so I can move on with the next project. I respect your intelligence enough to make your own decisions. You can leave a comment in the comment section below or not, it's your choice. Although feedback is very helpful, so if you have that in addition to your rankings or just want to post feedback, that'd be much appreciated. I did do rankings lists before, but not in this manner. Would you like to see more rankings in this type of style? I'd be willing to do more of these, but it's up to you. Anyways, now that time has passed and things have cooled down a bit, I'm going to return to my usual place of filming. So thank you all so much for watching this video, and until next episode, remember to stay awesome. Let's see how this goes. Got it. Well, Side-Quest aside, looks like we missed him again. But the professor might be very happy to know that we found this.